Today on the news and why it matters, Rudy Giuliani drops some Ukraine bombshells on Twitter. Got a lot to get into with this one over here on that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Also, a Democrat defector on impeachment, and 2020 candidates vow to boycott the next debate to support union protesters. We've got a lot to get into on this Monday, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. It's going to be a good show today. We are joined by Glenn Beck himself, the Ukraine expert. Who,
yeah, right.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
I've got a few things. I'm just deciding whether I say them or not.
I always vote for saying them. Stuber here. And also, we are joined once again by the lovely Lauren Chen from BlazeTV.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Our own Lauren Chen, pseudo-intellectual. Yeah. So how was your flight?
You know what? It was really good. Yeah. And then when I got off the plane, instead of being somewhere like LA, I was in Texas. So overall, a good experience.
Really good.
Yeah, really way better.
Happy ending.
Well, we are so glad that you're here. I like to get some more estrogen in the room whenever possible. Got a lot to get into. First, we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing.
American Financing is a place to go if you are a responsible, if you're responsible with your money and you want to maybe pay a little less for your mortgage. They can get you into lower interest rates, and they honestly work for you. You just had some experience with them.
We did, and they were amazing. They even said, we don't really know if our situation is going to be right for you guys because you're looking at doing a new build, but we want to make sure that you look for this, and this. Make sure to ask them, and that will get you the best rate possible from them.
They actually advised her that your builder would get a better rate, and so you get a better rate than the banks could get because they're so motivated just to get you to buy the house.
Yeah, they were helping their competition for us. Yeah.
Every time I hear somebody talk about American Finance, it's always like, yeah, they told me I would be better if I did this, and they showed me what to do and which bank to go to. And I'm like, do these guys make any money at all? Anyway, it's American Financing. They work for you. They're going to make sure you get the right deal. American Financing, numbers at the bottom of the screen.
And it's AmericanFinancing.net. So Rudy Giuliani over the weekend. I didn't hear this being reported on CNN. Now, I may have missed it, mostly because I don't watch CNN. But did not hear this reported on CNN. Rudy Giuliani dropped kind of a series of bombshells here on all of the information that he was collecting in Ukraine. So he said, after hundreds of hours and months of research, I have garnered witnesses and documents which reveal the truth behind this impeachment, which includes no wrongdoing by Donald Trump. These threads only touch on the surface. Read and watch all, more to come. He said evidence revealed that corruption in 2016 was so extensive it was POTUS's duty to ask for U.S.-Ukraine investigation. Impeachment is part of Dem cover-up. Extortion, bribery, and money laundering goes beyond Biden's. Also, DNC collusion with Ukraine to destroy candidate Trump. You can question a witness's credibility, but you cannot question hard documentary evidence, which each firsthand witness part of this investigation provide. Now, he is including these videos from OAN, which you can go onto his Twitter and see. He said witness Victor Shokin said he holds documents proving money laundering by Burisma and the Bidens. He was fired due to Biden's threat not to release the $1 billion in vital U.S. aid, which we've seen video of Biden saying that he did. And Shokin's medical records show he was poisoned, died twice, and then was revived. Lots of heads will roll in Ukraine if this opens up. And then Lutsenko, he says of Lutsenko, who was the inheritor of Shokin's office, records proving Ambassador Yovanovitch perjured herself during the hearings at least twice, documents showing she was denying visas to witnesses who could prove Biden and Dem corruption, clear documentation proof of money laundering by Burisma and Biden's. And then Dem's impeachment for innocent conduct is intended to obstruct the below investigations of Obama-era corruption. He says billions of laundered money, billions, mostly U.S. money, widely misused, extortion, bribery, DNC collusion with Ukraine to destroy candidate Trump, much more to come. Glenn, do you have your popcorn ready for this?
I'm struck by the died twice. That one, I think I should see some medical records on that one.
I mean, he said there are medical records that exist. You'd think that he'd be prepared to back that up, right?
Yeah, I think Rudy Giuliani is hurting himself. you know, we talked and joked about him being on my show, and I said, you know, before we even went on, I said, you know, you're on with me. I mean, this is not going to be good for your reputation. And I think that by going to OAN, even going to me, but I don't know who else I would go to that I would trust, but he's hurting himself by not presenting the evidence, by teasing it and not showing it. He's also, you know, liking and retweeting things from some, you know, some not so credible people. His reputation is being destroyed, mainly by him in the past and his appearances on television, but it's also being destroyed by the company he is keeping right now. Show the documents. Just release the documents. Put them out online. What are you doing? Why aren't you just dumping the documents? Do you need to be this? Do you need to be the person in the story? Or I don't understand it.
Were the documents in these videos? I mean, I haven't.
I mean, there were some interviews with Shokin and then Lysenko, I think. And so they were basically saying this verbally, but there haven't been any documents that I've seen. Lauren, you've not seen them either.
I've not seen anything either, and I agree. He should just release it. Like, I love foreshadowing. It's kind of fun when it comes to TV shows. I don't know if the news impeachment is the best place for it, but I think wondering why he's going on places like OAN and things like that and tweeting this out. I don't know if we could even trust the media to cover this fairly if he did go up to them. I mean, you said it yourself. Is CNN even reporting on this? Is this getting a tenth of the attention that, you know, the whole impeachment debacle is? I don't think so. So I definitely agree he's not handling it the best way. But I think part of that is just distrust in the media in general, which I don't think we can blame him for.
Yeah, Stu.
I mean, they definitely don't think they can get a fair shot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that that's a big thing. You'd think they might have people even at Fox News or something like that that's a little bit more mainstream. Though OAN, I mean, it's a conservative outlet, and it's not, you know, it is what it is. I think that you step back from this and you see what the Democrats are trying to do here, though, right? I mean, like, this impeachment thing is not about whether this story is true or not. It's not about whether there are documents. It's not about any of this. It's about making sure that they can say to their donors and their activists that we got this guy impeached. And it's about making sure that they can come to the American people and say, if they lose, that this was all fixed, that Trump was cheating the entire time. It's a dark agenda, honestly, because it's the same agenda that they called dark when they thought Donald Trump was going to do it in 2016. So they're attempting essentially the same thing here. And, you know, it's hard for me, and Glenn, I think you're a little more optimistic than I am when it comes to the Senate trial on this.
Wait, did you say Glenn is more optimistic than you?
That's a dark place. Think of this. You're going to be hanging from a raft right now. But if it's presented in the Senate trial, are the American people going to have enough of an attention span to actually even bother to learn it, to understand it? It seems like the media is so successful in being able to push this to the background, and you know, I think that's why the temptation's there for them to not have the trial. They're thinking, like, look, American people are kind of with us on this. They see it as a partisan thing, which it is. Let's just abandon it and move on.
I disagree. I don't think the media has put this on the back burner. I think, you know, Rudy Giuliani has been the only one out there telling the story besides us, and there's been pieces of it told throughout the conservative mainstream. But nobody's really put it together except Giuliani to some degree and us. And we've offered it to the people in Congress and the people in Washington, D.C. They don't want it. And I think it's because everybody's dirty. I think Mitch McConnell is dirty. I think Lindsey Graham is probably dirty in this. I think there's a lot of people dirty, and so nobody wants to do it. And the reason why this is on OAN and not Fox is because I believe Donald Trump is going to buy OAN. The day he is out of office, he's going to buy OAN, and it's going to be the Trump television network. Mark my words.
So he's trying to build that brand now.
Build that brand now, and he'll buy it. If he hasn't already, talked to him about it. Look, I'm going to give you some things and give you some exclusives, because you see him tearing down Fox.
News now,
all of a sudden, kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, before we move on, though, can we talk a little bit about Biden? Because, like, with all of this, the Dems are so like, this is quid pro quo, corruption, just unthinkable. They seem to be glossing over the part where there's actual evidence now of Biden engaging in the very same thing that they are so just, they cannot believe that Trump would dare to do. So I think it goes to show
but
their
that was in the
hypocrisy.
interest of the American people.
Oh, right. It's different, right? How could I forget?
Yeah.
And if what Rudy Giuliani is saying is true, not only do we have Joe Biden on tape admitting to quid pro quo, but he can tie it back to obvious personal interests.
Right.
If we were talking about money laundering and Burisma and the Biden family. But they don't want to talk about that.
No, they don't want to talk about it. So, I mean, at the very least, maybe all this information can draw more attention to that, because they say, like, oh, but, you know, it's because he's running as president. He's hands off. Trump's running as president right now for re-election. They don't seem to care when it doesn't benefit them.
Yeah. Speaking of all of this impeachment nonsense, New Jersey Representative Jeff Van Drew, he is leaving the Democratic Party. Apparently, it's not totally official, but he's already had, I think, 6 or 7 aides who have already resigned in anticipation for this. And he is getting the wrath of his, for now, fellow Democrats for leaving the party. Representative Steve Cohen from Tennessee basically verbally assaulted the guy on CNN when this news broke. Let's listen to Steve.
To turn and go to be a Republican, it's kind of strange. It's kind of, you know, I've heard rats jumping off a sinking ship, but very few of them jump onto a sinking ship. The Republicans are in the minority. For his district, they, instead of having a congressman who's in the majority and can get something done for his district, they're going to have a congressman in the minority who can't get anything done. The lowest thing that there is in the Congress is somebody in the minority side who was a traitor to the majority.
Lauren, you're obviously from Canada.
Yeah.
So I know that you keep an eye on what's going on here, but what do people in Canada think of all of this impeachment stuff, of the Democrats just going all in?
Do you guys look at us the way we look at Parliament in England?
Kind of, I think so.
I
think Canadians just think when it comes to American politics, they're just like people on the street yelling crazy things, fires going around, which is not not that much of a stretch. But I mean, when it comes to something like this, I'm just a little bit confused how the Democratic Party got here, because I remember right after 2016, the people who were like, we're going to impeach him right away, they were kind of the fringe, right? And we come like 3 years later, these people are mainstream. It is the party line that if you want to be embraced by the Democratic Party, you have to vote for impeachment. So part of me was wondering at first if he's not for it, which considering I think he's in a swing district is reasonable. Impeachment is getting less and less popular. Why not just vote against it, but stay with the party? I don't even know if the Democrats would accept that. I think they're kind of telling people, if you want to stay, if you want our support, you fall in line or else you get out.
Yeah, you get taken back to the woodsheds. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, they said that they were going to primary him, basically. I mean, the polling was terrible for him. It looked bad. And it's funny because, like, it shows, it's easy to cheer, I think, when a Democrat switches to a Republican, and it also just highlights what a disaster this has been for Democrats. I mean, this is not working at all. But, I mean, this guy voted with Donald Trump 7% of the time. 7%. And now he's switching to become a Republican. Like, these guys in Washington, I mean, they have no belief system at all. I mean, you think he's gonna vote 7% of the time with Donald Trump when he becomes a Republican? It's gonna all of a sudden be 93. Yeah. And everyone's gonna be like, oh, well, of course, that's natural. He's now a Republican. Well, it's not supposed to be natural. You're supposed to believe things and vote based on...
He believes in re-election.
There you go.
Glenn, what are your thoughts?
I find it interesting that the Democrats were shooting for a bunch of defections on the Republican side. And they were just saying, people are going to defect, they're going to defect, they're going to defect. And now that they see the case and their side is defecting, it's somehow or another horrible, something just despicable. You didn't make the case. You didn't make the case. If you would have made the case, maybe definitely some Republicans would have come over. But it's not just about this impeachment. This is about how far, I think, at least if I were that House member, I would have also been taking into account what had just happened in England. This party is so far left. It is completely out of touch with the mainstream, and social media doesn't vote. Russian bots don't vote, and the loudest don't win the vote. The majority, and they're usually silent, does. And they are way out of the mainstream.
All right, the 2020 Democratic presidential candidates and their vow to boycott the next debate when we come back.
I'm going to miss him. You're going to miss him?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I cried a little bit earlier. Before we get back into the conversation, we want to thank our sponsor, Overcomer. Now, Overcomer is the #1 inspirational movie in America. It is available for digital download, and it's available for Blu-ray and DVD tomorrow, December 17th. This is a film from the Kendrick brothers, who are obviously one of the most beloved faith storytellers. And they were behind the movie Courageous and War Room. You know those. They were both huge hits. If you have not seen Overcomer yet, you really need to. It tells the story of Coach John Harrison, who, when his high school basketball team's state championship dreams are crushed under the weight of unexpected news, he has to come to grips with the challenges facing his family and this basketball team. Now, urged by the school's principal to fill in and coach a sport he doesn't know or like, who could blame him? It's basketball. John is frustrated.
He liked basketball, but he didn't like cross country.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Cross country.
Yeah, and that's,
Cross country is.
Who would like it?
You don't have to throw anything. I respect that.
Well,
that's a great point.
That's your line on
That is a great
sports.
point.
You don't have to throw things.
Running just for the fun of running. Come on. What is wrong with you?
There's no fun in running.
No, what is wrong with
you?
you?
Used to make fun. When I was growing up, people who would go running, everybody would make fun of. What are you doing running? Just go out and get a job.
Who are you running from? Seriously, though, you have to see it. It is a powerful mix of faith, a twist of humor, a ton of heart. And you can go to overcomermovie.com. You can download today, or you can pre-order the Blu-ray. You pre-order it today. It's available tomorrow, Blu-ray and DVD. That is overcomermovie.com. Go there now. It's a good family film for the holidays for you and your family. So the 2020 Democratic presidential candidates who qualified for the debate, I believe it's Thursday, sadly. I try not to keep up with it, even though our job makes us. But they are going to boycott their own event to stand in solidarity with a union that plans to protest outside the event. So the event is being held at Loyola Marymount University. And there is... Stick with me, okay? There is Sodexo, which is a food service union, and they're contracted by the university. And so like 150 fast food service workers work on that campus, and they are not happy with the benefits and the pay, and they are protesting. And so the Democratic presidential candidates said, we're going to stand with you in solidarity, and we're going to protest our own event too. We're going to protest for you guys. Elizabeth Warren, by the way, was the first one, if you can, the least shocking thing ever.
Somebody should take, go into a classroom, just take a stapler off, just put loser, staple it to all of their faces. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well, do you want to hear what makes it even dumber? Apparently,
yes, obviously.
There was actually a previous venue that this was planned to be at, but then that also had labor disputes, so they had to move it because of that. So this is the second time, actually, where there's an issue with this debate and labor disputes at the venue. And it's
Can we get labor disputes at all of the voting places?
They'd have no choice but to follow through with it.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, Cory Booker is now, he did not qualify for this debate. Poor Cory. He has asked his fellow presidential candidates to sign a letter petitioning the DNC to make its debate qualification rules less exclusionary.
I'm it's a little psychic. I'm thinking they're going to say no.
Yeah. I'm thinking that you're right, which is basically what their communications director said. They actually, I don't have the full quote on here, I don't think, but their communications director was like, the qualifications are pretty minimal. The bar's pretty low, so if you can't reach that, you probably shouldn't be up there. And Julian Castro, I'm sure, he signed the letter as well. He is.
He also believes, because he's at 0 and 1%, so he really thinks it's
really
unfair.
wants to be on that stage as well. But he said that the party is enforcing artificial rules that in the past would have hurt people like Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, while allowing billionaires like Tom Steyer to get on the debate stage. And obviously, it's going to be less diverse, the debate stage, because that's the goal here, what you want in a president.
Well, I know that the Democrats hate billionaires. I know a lot of billionaires are running strangely, and they're all white and they're all men. and many of them are old. So I'm not sure where they stand on anything.
Yeah. Lauren, what's your thoughts?
I mean, this is hilarious. It's delicious, but I think this is kind of what happens. We see Democrats eating themselves in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, if workers want to protest for their rights, they have the right to do that. You know, obviously, I think companies should be able to manage whatever they want. But when you've positioned yourself as always pro-worker, I don't care what the other side is, like, you kind of have to expect that pretty much no matter where you go now, you're going to be expected to hold up this standard, whether or not it makes sense. And I mean, it's the same thing with the new rules. People are complaining now that after Kamala Harris dropped out, oh, it's too white and too, I mean, they have been complaining about that as a party as a whole for the Republicans for a while now. So, I mean, maybe Cory Booker is right in trying to hold them to their own standards. Like, why aren't there more like trans queer women of color on this stage? Maybe the Democrat base really is just that, I don't know, that bigoted. Who can say?
That's it. Well, that's a great point. I mean, practice what you preach.
Exactly.
Right, Sto?
It's true. I mean, it's one of the weird criticisms of the Democrats of their own voters, which is they all, you know, it seems like all the African Americans really like the white old guy, Joe Biden. They just, you know what? And you're calling them racist? Like, did they hate black candidates? Because they seem to not support them. And it's a weird criticism, and it is almost, it's a very, I mean, I think you'd point out, Glenn, a very progressive criticism, right? They know better. The white people who are running the party know better than the black voters as to who their president should be, which is really a demeaning thing. And it's only part of the reason that I agree with the unions, and I will also be boycotting this event.
Well, I mean, you think about it too, like, could they not just get another job? Like, that's what I keep going back to, is like,
wait.
You can go work somewhere else.
You mean Cory Booker? Because I agree.
Yes, Cory Booker. But all of these union people who are upset about their wages and their benefits, I mean, I don't mean to sound cold-hearted, but
I mean, but that's kind of what I believe. You should be able to negotiate. But if your employer is like, no, well then, I mean,
it's the whole conceit of unions, right? In general, is that you're not supposed to have to go to find other jobs. You're not supposed to have to negotiate these things. It's just supposed to be given to you, and it's why the unions have struggled so much, because it's a ridiculous economic concept.
Well, which I understand with like the implementation of unions at the beginning, right? Because that was before we had federal standards and all of this. But
there were monopolies.
But now that we have all of these regulations on the books, it just seems insane to me that we still have unions that exist. Glenn.
Well, the good news is that the Democrats are planning on a flood of bills that they're going to pass as soon as January hits. So while the Senate is a do-nothing Senate, doesn't get anything done because they're going to be mired in impeachment, the House is going to pass a whole bunch of stuff, and one of the main things they're going to pass is an end to the right-to-work state.
No way.
What?
Well, the House is going to do that.
The House is going to do it. That's what they're working on, the House. I mean, that shows you they still have not gotten the message. They want to repeal any right-to-work state rights.
I would not be surprised. And this, you know, what's in the USMCA, this trade agreement, is a massive giveaway to unions. I mean, to get that thing passed, the Republicans gave the Democrats a ton when it comes to unions. It's going to cost all of us a ton of money on cars and all these other items that are included in it, because basically they just try to, you know, they're going low with people here to unionize, so they've tried to unionize Mexico, which is basically what's in this deal. So they have to jack all the rates up in Mexico for people that are working on these manufacturing plants, and it's going to cost us a fortune. But it's going to enrich people like Richard Trumka, who, if your trade agreement is endorsed by Richard Trumka, it's a bad trade agreement.
You're on the wrong side.
You're on the wrong side, and he has endorsed it along with people like Nancy Pelosi. That's scary.
All right, back in a minute.
That's the biggest thing I worry about in the second term.
Merry Christmas to all of you who have not yet gotten a BlazeTV subscription yet. We've got a deal for you. It starts today. You can use promo code NEWS20 off, and you will get $20 off of your annual subscription. Not only does that give you access to overtime, which will happen right after this ends, and we're talking about Greta Thunberg on the overcrowded train. The poor girl, she had to sit on the floor.
Wow.
She had to sit on the floor.
Rouse, Greta.
Yeah, there's kind of some controversy surrounding that one. Also, a consumer group finally calls on Hasbro to stop selling assault-style Nerf guns. Thank you. Thank you so much for finally tackling the big issues plaguing the United States. Again, it is News 20 off, and you also get access to Pseudo-Intellectual with Lauren Shen here, who I would not say is a pseudo-intellectual. I would say you're just an intellectual.
I don't want that label. That's what it means now. I'm good.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. But the proper meaning, Lauren will be joining us for overtime, so you got to tune in. It is BlazeTV.com, promo code News20 off.